Alrighty, folks. We are up and we are live on Facebook. And our Zoom webinar is a go. Welcome. Greetings. This is Robert Smith. I'm the Associate Professor of History and Director of the Center for Urban Research, Teaching, and Outreach at Marquette University, along with my partner, Adam Carr. You want to say a few words, Adam?
Hey, I put on my nice Brewers hat today for this meeting, but we can't figure out video, so that was in vain. I do a bunch of things around Milwaukee, and one of the great privileges of my life has been being involved in the March on Milwaukee 50th anniversary, which has since spilled over into this commitment that we continue moving forward on exploring the story of the open housing marches in public. So this is the last event of our monthly series. I'm really excited. This is maybe the one that I was most excited about because I feel like we're going to get into dimensions. I love the historians, but we're going to get into different dimensions of the story today.
Absolutely. And what we are doing today, we are going to hear from some of our activists around town. So we're going to continue with our exercise of using the images from the open housing marches as the teaching instruments. And then we're going to get into some images from today. And what we're going to do is give our panelists, our esteemed panelists, the opportunity to share some of their thoughts about the images, and then get us into a conversation about how we are continuing to battle some of these very important issues today and the work that they do. But as we always say, history is fun. We are going to have a good time. Let me give a short introduction to our panelists. Keisha, if you can go back to that first slide, that would be awesome. Our panelists today include some very awesome women in our city who are doing remarkable things. Charlene Moore from Urban Underground, as well as Amanda Buchanan, who works over there with her, our local activist Camille Mays, and also Rhonda Davis. Wonderful women. Thank you all for joining us today. Just want to give you a second to say hello. If you all just want to say a quick round of hellos, we'll get this show started more formally with our images. Charlene, you want to start us off?
Absolutely. Good afternoon, everyone, and Rob and the rest of the folks that have put this together. Adam, thank you all so much for this opportunity. I'm looking forward to our conversation today.
Amanda, say hello for us.
Hey, everybody, it's Amanda. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, bring the energy. Love it.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Hey, everybody. Hey, everybody. It's Amanda. I'm just grateful for this opportunity to be here with you all today, and I'm ready to just talk about some really great history. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Welcome. Camille Mays. We know the name. Camille, I haven't actually had a chance to sit down and talk with you, so I'm really excited about today. Say hello for us, Camille.
Hi, everybody. I'm always excited to talk about the people and the movement to better the people. So I'm here for this discussion.
And
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. And Rhonda, say hello for us, please.
Hello, everyone. I am used to working in the background, but I am very grateful and honored to be invited to be a part of this conversation today.
Awesome. Thank you. So here's the fun part, folks. We are going to show some really cool images that we've used in our lectures about the open housing marches. Our goal is to use these images to engage young people with their history and to let them know how important young people have been in the journey for civil and equal rights, not only here locally, but nationally. And so as we get into our photograph exercise, keep in mind that we are also wanting to make sure young people are thought of and considered as we give our comments. And so, Adam, how about you tell us what we're going to do with these images?
Absolutely. We have two sets of images that we're going to go through. The first one is of the open housing marches. They're the ones that we've been looking at in prior weeks, but we're going to get a different take on these. Then we'll kind of see how this goes. We're playing pickup basketball as usual. We might do some meme making. I have some of the memes ready to show you from past ones. That will make more sense in a little bit. Then I also have a quick deck of images compiled from the last handful of years of what activism has looked like in Milwaukee in this last stretch. So, these images, again, I know some of our panelists will be seeing these for the first time, and that's what's exciting to us about them, is to kind of get everyone's fresh responses.
All righty, and so we are going to we're going to chunk this so that it's functional for teaching. And so we're going to show the images, have some conversations about them, and then we'll open the audience up for some Q&A as we begin to wrap up our conversation later in the hour. So, Adam, you ready with your images?
Let's do it.
Panelists,
all right,
we
so
want you to tell us what you see, tell us what you feel, and we are going to jump right in this thing and tear the Band-Aid off.
And actually, I'm gonna do one round for the whole thing, and then we'll come back to the beginning and respond. So these images are from the open housing marches, which took place a little over 50 years ago. This is at St. Boniface, what used to be behind North Division High School. It's since been torn down. These images, I went to great public schools, never saw them growing up. They're dramatic, they're intense. I think they, in some ways, paint a picture of a community hungry for justice and for liberation, and a community, reflecting just the headlines we see in today's newspaper, an almost equal and opposite response of systems and institutions essentially there to reinforce racism, particularly anti-Black racism. These images show, I think one of the things that we found crucial, and this is an image, we'll make this point, this house, the Freedom House, is burned down by the MPD. The first firebomb inflicted upon the NAACP in Milwaukee back then was by a local chapter of the KKK. Sometimes we think about images like this existing down south, really far away from places like Milwaukee, but these guys, in the same way some of the marchers are still around and amongst us today, these guys probably are too. So these images, these dramatic images, something like this, I did not grow up in the city of Milwaukee thinking that, or knowing at all about our civil rights movement, just how dramatic, how spectacular it was. That not only was it dramatic and spectacular, there are those such as the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. who looked at Milwaukee and said, wow, I deeply admire what those folks are doing up north. And a lot of times these aren't lessons we learn about our own city. This is an image we see, but this one is maybe more powerful. It's about estimates as many as 20,000, maybe 15,000 people on Wisconsin Avenue as a response to Martin Luther King's assassination. So these images aren't somewhere far away from Milwaukee. This is Wisconsin Avenue. This is where the Riverside Theater is, where that subway is, where the Planet Fitness is, where the new Grand Avenue Mall is being built. This is our city, and I think in a lot of ways, these images are ones that we've been deprived of them as Milwaukeeans. So I guess in some ways that's what Rob and I have taken great pleasure in, is sharing these images with people who might be lifetime Milwaukeeans and care a lot about the movement, but yet may never have seen this specific set. So that's my little intro. And with that, Rob, why don't you tell me where to navigate? And panelists, let's start with this one. Can you guys talk a little bit about what you're seeing this image? We call this image analysis, kind of the who and what comes to mind when you're seeing this picture.
First thoughts, folks. Don't even filter it. And our attendees, send us chats, send us questions. We do this on the fly.
This is Charlene. So looking at this image, clearly the first thing that strikes me is Father Grappi and him being surrounded by Black people, right? He was one of very few white folks at the time that, began to support the Fair Housing March movement. And, again, this picture is so striking because, you not only have the American flag, at the center of the photo, and and supposed to be reflective of what the American flag, stands for, right? Freedom and equality and everything. So much of that time wasn't. And so, I'm grateful, and Adam, I haven't learned about the Fair Housing March in school at all. I was so disappointed that I had to learn about this as an adult, and so much rich history that we have here in this city. But, to know that there were individuals that stood alongside, Black people to support them in their fight for equality.
Other panelists, thoughts, responses, feelings?
This is Rhonda. To have an image that goes along with some of the conversations that I've heard over the years from family members, and knowing that I, again, like other panelists have mentioned, was not introduced to this in a school setting, but to see the pride in my family members' faces, and as they talk, it showed that we do have voice. We do deserve a seat at the table. We are deserving. And to hold that flag up is that sense of that freedom, that equality, that justice, and the fact that we are worthy of fighting for what we believe we have right to, right? And that we can come together in those efforts.
Rhonda, can I follow up something? You have family members who marched, maybe youth council members?
Just not necessarily that marched, but were around, that were like younger, and they mentioned seeing that and taking pride in that, those images, because they always compare to, man, there was a time, right? Nowadays we might not come together as much as we need to, but there was a time when. So just in remembering their take or their perspective on this time period.
Absolutely.
And we are getting some comments from some attendees. I want to make sure along the way to share these comments as they come in. Tanya says that this image is timeless. The faces, the clothes, the feeling, that this image here is the moment. Go ahead, jump in, folks.
Yes, I agree with what everybody said. I'm just looking at this. I'm not sure if this is who it is on my left. This young person to the left, like this younger child, and just looking as this person is looking back, right, and just being able to see the people power, right, the struggle and the fight, right. These are like what we felt to, like what I'm so energized by is that what people fail to see is like these are young people. These are our young people leading a movement that even 50 years later, right, we still talk about. And then we do ourselves a disservice in forgetting, right, to remember the young people and lift them up and empower them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I just think that this is such a powerful picture. Like holding a flag, like radical, rah-rah, turned up energy has always been in youth. You know what I'm saying? And just thinking about the privilege that we have to serve young people is it's wonderful. And to just see that tenacity, right, that determination, that energy, just to still see it flourish and be able to be remembered in this time is amazing.
Amanda, I think you made our first meme. This is radical rah-rah turned up energy.
Yes.
Use it. Yes.
Let's get Camille in there. Camille, you got some thoughts for us?
Yeah, I don't know if my thoughts have to do with like the work I do or whatever, but what I see out of the picture is, like, I do see the empowerment, but I also see that, to me, it's a reminder. And to me, our flag is traumatizing because of stuff like this and footage that I just even recently watched when it was Black people with flags and the police was snatching the flags out of their hands. And so for me, I just see that with all of these years, all of these fighting, that it's just that we evolved into another level of racism. Like we evolved, but we're still in the same place all these years later. I'm looking at these pictures like my grandparents and my parents told me about this, but I'm still fighting for the same thing, for housing inequities and the same things in the neighborhood. So that's what my thoughts are when I see the images.
You know, Camille, one of the sort of prologue comments we'll make sometimes is that in the 50 years since this happened, the racism has been poured in the concrete of our infrastructure.
Mm.
So, you know, you may not see the people holding Nazi signs out in public,
Right.
but we sure have invested billions and billions of dollars into the segregation that began and was evidently on display during these open housing marches.
You
Let's go to
know
the next
what?
one.
We
Actually
have
do
a
see the
saying.
Nazi
Wait,
emblem
let me
today.
just say real quick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say real quick. We say in the hood, we say that the hoods changed into suits and judge robes and police suits and things like that. So they KKK hoods switched to those things, to suits
Yeah.
and judge robes. So
Absolutely.
And actually, I mean, not even change, because all right, we'll get to some of those other images. Why don't we do, Rob, do you want to do this one?
Yeah, you know, this is my favorite image, and I think given recent developments over the last few days, we
Yeah.
are constantly reminded about the brutality that is state violence enacted by law enforcement on Black bodies. And this picture right here, there's so much tension in that open space. It ain't nothing but space and opportunity right there. And you see young men doing all they can to remain civil in the face of an uncivilized police force. And deep in the photo, you see the clash, and you can just see it moving forward in this image. This one here is just, man, this is the one that gets me the most, and there are a lot of them.
Definitely appropriate in this very moment.
Thoughts about this image, folks? Any comments at all?
This is Charlene. I would definitely agree with you. This is definitely a powerful image, and you know, you think then and now, and I just, you know, think about how, you know, I think about how King, you know, talked about nonviolent and not, you know, responding to adversary or adversary without being violent. And you know, it's a hard thing. And I look at the brother in the on the what side is this, in the left side, and how his hands are together, and it's just like, you know, I'm like, I know something is going to happen, but you know, I got to keep my composure. And man, I tell you, I think about just even today, and we think about the racism, we think about, like, you cannot be Black in America without, you know, experiencing some form of violence, whether it's you know, housing discrimination, employment discrimination, health discrimination, you know, education like those are all forms to me of violence. And you know, we're still fighting today for some of the same things, and you know, it's heartbreaking.
And part of the reason we were so excited about this conversation, and this is really directed at the educators who joined us and who will see this, we want to encourage you, always get your local folks, your local activists, your local experts into your classrooms however you can, because these folks bring these questions and these ideas that we try to teach. They bring them alive in so many important ways. And so your expertise is valuable, extraordinarily valuable, as we think about teaching history, especially because so many of these issues are still with us. And Command Central is telling us we need to move forward, Adam. So Keisha's keeping us on track.